自分の過去を否定しない。俺はもう仲間とつながることを否定しない。
Grew up in the 90s and early 2000s and the entertainment culture was from the fans, fighters, that was constantly avoiding to find a balance and then drop short of Dan Schneider during the period of crisis of children's television programs. He made influential productions on American John and He's recognized with Scott with funny shows that I imagine meant a lot to others as well. The big little thing really meant a lot to the creators of sharing the book. So that's what a few of the games is supposed to do. Here's what he shows to the monsters, the predators, Dan, getting the band Schneider. He is a violent, creepy, disgusting human being with vicious remorse, a few doctors who drop blue dagger into the subject matter and put the spotlight on it in a way that hasn't previously been explored. It's called Talent Concept. Now, if you don't know what Dan looks like, he's a nice picture right here. It looks like he was made in the Dragon's Dogma 2 characters created. And Dan has become a fish called Talent Concept. However, that's just for the business. It's like a whole deep look at all of the things that are going on during the Nickelodeon. It's more than just Dan. He obviously played a central role here because he made these shows. He was the head honcho of most of this. And he was well aware of some of these terrible and downright criminal things that were going on behind the scenes on some of these shows. And the reason I mentioned the foot fetishism off rip here is because that was one of the first things that people really caught on to in the public eye. After Dan's glory days at Nickelodeon, people started to pick up on how odd it was that a lot of these children's shows had an emphasis on feet. Pretty frequently, it was a common thread throughout a lot of these shows, like feet humor and having these child actors and actresses displaying their feet. And in 2013, one of the shows Dan worked on, Sam and Cat, actually ran a competition where kids were supposed to submit pictures of their feet to them. Like, that's weird. No matter how you spin it, that's a really weird thing to request from your audience of children, to take pictures of their feet for you. That's just downright creepy and wrong. I can't believe that tweet is still up, by the way, over a decade later, and no one thought to delete that. That is impressive. But anyway, people started to pick up on Dan's fixation with stompers, and it seemed like his fetish was bleeding into his work, and he was having the children unknowingly participate in it by having them display their feet. That's what it seemed to a lot of people, so it was obviously very concerning. So people did more and more digging. They found more and more evidence of Dan being an awful piece of shit behind the scenes with a lot of shady things going on there. And it just led to this reputation that people for years have known that Dan blows loads to toes Schneider is not a good person. And now, playing stuff like this is very much information I just got there, but about that entire Nickelodeon arguably the largest piece of new information that dropped during the docu-series was the sexual abuse of Drake Bell by someone named Brian. So Brian was a coach at Nickelodeon who was sexually abusing Drake Bell. He was actually convicted in 2004. He spent 16 months in prison, and then immediately upon release, landed his job with police. If that doesn't show just how rotten the floor of the industry is, I don't know what will. There's 16 in college. This is a jail for real acts of a minor. He is a sex offender, a convicted sex offender. And he immediately got a TV job working on the street life of South City. What the fuck? That's mind-boggling news. That's not just irresponsible. That's humiliating. They just made some kind of mistake where they put a sex offender in a role where he works on with the children. It's not like they made a whoop-de-daisy. They just happened to overlook that he's a sex offender. They knew. They were and they still hired him for that role regardless. That's scary. That's terrifying. They are actively enabling a suffering sex offender to potentially play on children. Rick also described that when he went into court, Brian Peck had the support of some very powerful and familiar faces. There were 31 character letters written to the judge asking for leniency to Brian. 31 letters of support from industry personnel that were trying to get a lighter sentence for Brian Peck, even knowing that he is guilty of the crime for which he was about to face the punishment, asking for a more generous sentence. These weren't just 41 pieces of toilet paper with nonsensical scribblings on it from nobody. These were 31 character letters that were submitted by the personnel that have been high-up officers for these things very good. That advocating for someone who is guilty of sexually abusing a child. Holy shit. It's the biggest issue that's not a big deal. I guess, oh, this is good. I understand how they don't have time. But who is Nickel on this time? Are you really going to throw them out and put them out on the What about you to do is break it down? You're asking about it. Think about it. It almost stopped being surprising when that last tech landing job at Disney right after the 18 months in prison for this crime, because it seems like that entire institute did not give a fuck about the safety of kids to begin with. So like I said, Plan on Stuff isn't just about transparency and all the awful things that he has done. It's about how often the entire institute itself. Going to work and safety is very fun. Scrolling about the series, highlighting the fact what social science that was cultivate or weird shit that would go on. I was reading teaching people a whole plethora of different stuff. And in response to all of this, Dan Snyder himself actually stepped off the shot, leaving the world open, cold, and addressing it head on. In one of the most painful and ridiculous cases of time, we can't view as ever seen. Interview is not conducted by the professional, conducted by a former actor in one of Dan Snyder's shows, and he is not equipped to handle something like this. This explode of baloney. Like, this is just some straight up fucking baloney. There is no pushback on anything in this interview at all. It's just strategic softballs designed to give Dan Snyder some kind of sympathetic PR win. Where he comes out of this looking better. Where he comes out of this like, stop the podcast. It's so deplorable that they even try something like this with a straight face. I think it is extremely transparent what this is. And I'm happy to say, pretty much everyone saw straight through this. This did not give Dan Snyder the junk I think he was expecting it to. This did not make him look any better in the public's eye. It actually just made it look even more sinister that he was able to, it seems, pre-prepare this interview to mitigate the potential fallout from the documentary. Let's talk about watching this podcast today. It's disturbing. It was wrong. It was wrong that I ever put anybody in that position. It was the wrong thing to do. I'd never do it today. I'm embarrassed that I did it then. I apologize to anybody that I ever put in that situation. Dan, talk to me about the right. What I saw. No, and I don't mean to cut you off, but if I can cut right to the chase, let me just say, no writer should ever feel uncomfortable in any writer's room, ever. Period. The end. No excuses. It starts with what's supposed to be this moment of taking accountability. Dan Schneider is just point blank apologizing and, holding himself accountable for the sins of the past type vibe. Except he's really not. Like, these aren't things that you just, hand wave away with, a simple apology. A lot of what was reported is, unforgivable bad shit. Like, there's really no way way of apologizing for the things that Dan Snyder has done and also been accused of. So it's just it feels so fucking insincere. And Dan Schneider got away with it, and it seems will continue to get away with it. So he loses nothing by doing something like this, which just makes it frustrating to see him parade around pretending like he cares now all of a sudden. Like, it's extremely easy for him to just be like, oh yeah, that was bad. I feel bad for that. Oh, what a regret. And yeah, not good. Like, it's just, I would have liked if the interviewer was someone that would legitimately dive into a lot of these things and actually press him on a lot of these things. This interview never even addresses the things that people want to hear from Dan on, such as like the sexualization of the children in those shows. Even outside of all the foot stuff, Dan included some very inappropriate things in his program, such as Ariana Grande milking a potato, and then another scene where they're getting like splashed with water and shit. Like, all of it is very unacceptable and seems to sexualize the child actors and actresses in his production. And that was never even brought up in this interview. So this interview, it doesn't have any real substance to it. It is legitimately just a scripted PR play from Dan.
お父様、私が必ず。
destruction. Our destiny is my connection now. A feeling in my soul. It's beyond the reach of most mere mortals. Take a stand. So remember, no surrender. My defining moment. I will stand up, overcome my past. This is different to the end. If it takes forever, no surrender. Now or never, my last stand.
this is him addressing a question that was asked about, like, inappropriate roasting there, without getting too deep into the weeds with the broad subject of these jokes that age appropriate, so look at them as inappropriate for a child audience. How do you respond? The most softball way of asking this question, mind you. And his response was, cut it. Just get rid of it. I don't want it in the show. If it's aged bad and it makes people uncomfortable or, this and that, cut it. And Boogie's like patting him on the back for it. Like, oh, that's so benevolent. What a great solution. Yeah, that makes sense. What the fuck? It's so easy for him to say that now, but it doesn't take away the fact that you played it. If you cut Ariana Grande milking the potatoes and shit, if you cut some of the foot stuff that you included in there, it doesn't change the fact that you still had the child actors and actresses doing that shit and were sexualizing it. It still happened. That's still bad. Cutting it from the final product doesn't erase what you did. It's so frustrating that there's no pushback on any of this in the interview. He just gets to let him say his piece and then get applause for it. It's so stupid. Dan Schneider's mission for the Nickelodeon Kid Choice Award for the best fake crying. It feels super forced, super insincere. Him tearing up while talking about this story. It was him talking about the Drake and running text case, where he mentioned 41 people wrote those letters and it baffled him. And then Drake's mom actually asked him to help her write her piece, which he did. And that leads me to a question of, if you knew all of this, why didn't you back up Drake's stuff? So the way it's described, Brian Peck had all of these people in his corner, but Drake really only had his mom and his brother. Why weren't you more involved then? Like, I imagine that could have been extraordinarily helpful. But regardless, this interview doesn't do anything to change my perception of Dan Schneider or of anyone else's, really, I imagine. It's still nothing. This isn't really an interview. It's just a PR piece. Disguised as an interview. It's just very despicable garbage here. So yeah, anyway, I wanted to talk about this a little bit. Again, the docuseries is called Quiet on Set. It's out now. And yeah, just kind of wanted to go a little bit. That's it. Yeah.